do I start this? You can't be laughing. I can't have you talking about the great Cornholio. Okay, hello, welcome to 3D Printing for Dummies. This is a quick guide to introduce you to the printers in the corn crib. We've got two Bamboo P1Ss, Bamboo X1 Carbon, and we got a Prusa Mark IV. I'm pretty sure next year we're getting an H2C?
4D, I don't remember, I think it's 2C.
Bigger, better printer next year that I'm pretty sure runs out of the same software that these three do. So, yeah, let me. Okay, so first things first, we're going to show you how to load and unload filament in the Prusa, because that's a little different from the Bamboos. So you've got the Prusa on, it's sitting in the home screen right now. So you're going to take your little joystick here and you're going to turn it over until the filament option is highlighted. Then you're going to click it, and so we've got filament in here already. So we're going to use the wheel again until unload filament is highlighted. And we're gonna click unload. So he's gonna do his thing. We're gonna do this in real time, Cornelius. So the menu's gonna say unloading filament, waiting for temperature. There's a stop option if things go awry, which they shouldn't. Alright, there we go. See, he'll poop out a little bit of filament there. And then, so yeah, just kind of, you have your very own purged filament. And then you should just be able to pull him right out of the top there. Spool him up, take him off the hook. Make sure the filament goes in here so it doesn't get unwound, because then you'll have a very angry Cornelius on your hands. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to load filament in the Prusa. So we've got our filament here. This is a good old-fashioned pool brown PLA basic. So we're going to go to our menu here and we're going to wheel over to filament. We're going to click on load filament and scroll until we hit the PLA option and click on it. So now slide this guy on the hook and feed it through this hole in the top. And the end's kind of ugly, so take a pair of cutters or whatever. These blue ones are usually hanging around. And just kind of snip off that end. And then take this. There's a little hole in the top of the nozzle here, and all you do is you just shove that in. You'll feel it grab, and then you push continue on the screen. So it'll take it. It should do the rest for you. So you can throw out the little bit you cut off. Try not to cut off too much of the tip, because that's just wasted filament, and wasted filament's no good. So yeah, it'll purge. Then it'll ask you if the color is correct. So yeah, we put brown in, we got brown out. So click yes, and there you go. You're ready to print whatever you want on the old Prusa. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to unload and load filament on the Bamboos, because they're very similar, just the UI is a little different. So we got both of them here. So on the X1C, you're going to navigate to the second option. It looks like two little bars with some sliders on it. It's the settings. And then at the top, click on filament, and it looks like there's only one loaded in, so you just highlight the color and it should start moving. Whereas on the P1S, you go on your little joystick here and you go down to the little, it almost looks like a download icon, and then you'll arrow over and click on feeding, and then just click unload. Okay, so as you can see now that the filament has purged itself, and then you should just be able to lift this hatch and take out whatever filament you want.
Make sure you wrap it around so you don't unspool it on accident. This out too.
Loading filament on both of these printers is incredibly easy to do, because all you really have to, all you gotta do is, on the X1C, there's a little tab right at the top here in the AMS. So just push that tab back, put the filament in the hole, and you should feel it grab. That's good. And then on the P1S, you just click the load button in the feeding section, like you did with the unload. Quick tip, make sure these stay closed because you don't want to let moisture in, because if the moisture gets in the filaments, that ain't going to be good. So on the P1S, you got to pay attention because it'll say it's heating the nozzle, and when the nozzle's up to temperature, it'll tell you to actually load the filament. See, it just swapped over to load new filament. So we take our filament here. It's the same as the X1C. You push the little tab back, put it in the hole, you'll feel it grab, and then you should be good to go. Alright, so say when you're 3D printing, you want to use a very specific filament. Now, always make sure your filaments are dry, because if they're not dry, when you go to bend them, they break off. That's no good. That means the filaments are moist, there's moisture in them, and that ain't right. So we've got our filament dryers here. So it's very simple. You just open the door, smack that bad boy in there. Make sure you know what type of filament this is. See, this is labeled as PLA. You see the PLA? It says PLA. So whack it in there, shut the door, hit on. Set on, sir. There we go. So it should just fire right up, and he'll be happy. He'll heat up. Now normally drying filament's quite the process, but it should hopefully be good to go in like 6 hours. Alright, so in order to start a 3D print, you're going to need two big things. You're going to need any kind of three-dimensional model like this little cat-shaped pencil holder and a USB drive. You can either have a USB adapter with a micro SD card in it or just a straight-up flash drive, depending on which printer you're using. The Prusa bases its files off of USB 2.0, and the Bamboos all run out of a micro SD card. So depending on what you're going to print, you're going to need the proper equipment. So to get your SolidWorks file ready to go, you're going to go up here to File, and you're going to click on the Save As option. So then it's going to bring up a little menu, so you're going to give it a name. We're going to give this the how to thing, and then the file type is important. Click on this drop-down menu. At the very top, there should be the 3D manufacturing format. Click on this. This is the type of file you want. Hit save. It'll load. All right, and you should be good. Now, so you're going to bring up your slicer software. We have either Prusa Slicer or Orca Slicer. Prusa Slicer is strictly for the Prusa printers, and Orca Slicer is strictly for the Bamboo printers. So open up Prusa Slicer. All right, it's going to ask you to update. Just hit cancel. You don't need it. All right, so this is your home page here. So what you're going to do, you're going to go up to File. You're going to click Import, and then you want to import a 3MF. And then so you're going to find your file. So you're going to click on it and then hit Open. It'll bring it up. Here he is right here. So you'll notice he's not kind of wonky. So we'll click on him, and then we'll get this Lay on Face tool, and we'll click on this shape right here. So what that's going to do, that's going to put his main body right here on the actual print plate. So he's sitting there all hunky-dory. So now if we come over here, we have our options. So this first drop-down menu is the layer height. So the bigger the layer height, the less detailed it's going to be. So for the Prusas, I usually leave it on 10 because Prusa does really well with tines and stuff. And then, so for filament, more commonly we use PLA filament in here, but depending on the application of your project, you can use ABS, PETG, whatever. Personally, for the Prusa, we have strictly just PLA because you might need an enclosed space. So for the printer, we have the Mark IVS, so just leave it on Mark IVS. Supports are important, so let's throw some supports everywhere. Because what happens is with supports is, so you see how this kind of tail here is not on the build plate? Supports will hold that up so it doesn't droop and mess up your print. We call that spaghettification. You'll experience spaghettification. It's not fun. Infill, we usually just leave it on 15, but for reference, 100% infill is like a completely solid object, and 0% is like a hollow shell of whatever. A brim is a form of support where essentially it just adds a bunch of wall loops on the first layer around the whole print for better bed adhesion. This seems like a pretty chunky boy, so we'll leave it like that. So once our printer settings are all configured, we hit the Slice Now button, and you'll give it a second. Ooh, ignore that. All right, so this is your little preview. So you can see this little guy right here is your slider. You can see all what's going down. Like you can see the wall loops, the infill, the supports, everything that's going down. On this menu, it'll tell you everything, including the total time it'll take. But once you're ready, plug your USB drive into the computer and click on the Export G-code. Now find the USB drive here and click Save. Click OK, and once it says exporting finished, you should be good to go. Make sure to click the file folder, click into the USB drive, and hit eject. If you don't hit eject and you just rip the hardware straight out, it's probably going to corrupt your files. So don't do that. Always make sure to hit eject. All right, for the Bamboo printers, instead of opening Prusa Slicer, you're going to open up Orca Slicer. So give it a second to load. This is your Orca Slicer home screen here. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on New Project, and it'll bring you up to this. The two big things we always have to do before importing any kind of 3D models into the slicing software is make sure we have the correct printer selected, so in this case the P1S, and the correct bed type. Now, on every single print plate we have in the Bamboos, it'll tell you what it is. So right now in the P1Ss we have the textured PEI plate, but we also use like the smooth high temp plate, use the engineering plate. 9 times out of 10 we'll be using the textured PEI plate. So now we can go to File, click Import, import the 3MF, and let's find our file. So let's click on it, hit Open. Alright, so you can see here, he's doing the thing he did in the Prusa Slicer. So click on him, find this little icon, the lay on face, click this shape, and then hit Escape. And you should be good to go. Now what's nice about the Bamboo printers is we can do color changes right here in the files. So what we're going to do is right here where it says filament, we can configure how many filaments we use. So let's say I want to make my guy out of, we'll do PLA Sparkle Black, and then for his eyeballs we'll do PLA Glow. So we only need 2 filaments here, so alright. So click on him, and then in here you've got support painting, seam painting, and color painting. We want color painting. So right now our part is entirely in the black sparkly filament. So let's highlight our green filament and go to the fill tool, and let's give him some glowing green eyes like a proper kitty cat. Then hit Escape, and we should be good to go. So now that we have our colors selected, let's go to our print quality. Let's do, we'll do a standard 20mm layer height, And then this is all presets in with a standard. I think the only big thing you'll need to do here is go into support, enable supports. You've got two types of supports. You've got the normal supports and the tree supports. So we're going to do tree supports because in my experience, trees have been easier to get off. And then you've also have manual modes where you can manually place the supports in there. That's for when you're more advanced and you know what you're doing. Well, one last thing, especially when doing multicolored prints, is you will have this little guy here. This is called a prime tower. This thing is absolutely evil and wastes filament. So if you go into the multi-material tab, I suggest making it as small as possible. So I always set it to 5 millimeters, and I just move them kind of close to the filament. Because all this prime tower does is he wastes time and valuable filament. And he's stupid, and we hate him, and we want him dead. So watch out for the prime tower. Anyway, so once everything looks good, go over here to the slice plate button, click on it, and he looks good to go. You can see where he changes colors and all that jazz. You can see his supports. But once he's ready, you plug in your USB drive. You click this blue drop down right here, and you want the plate sliced file. The plate sliced file carries all of the data that works directly with the Bamboo printers to make your printing experience easier, less have a chance to actually like blow up, which is what we want. So click export plate sliced file, highlight the USB drive, save it to the USB drive. It'll tell you it's exported successfully, and then you can go into your files, click on the USB drive, and hit eject. Once that's taken care of, we can run over to the printers and we can start our prints. We're going to start a print on the Prusa. So we've got our USB drive here. I normally use this one for the Prusa, but for demo reasons we're using this one. So there's a little USB port, it's labeled on the side of the machine here. So you whack that bad boy in. So 9 times out of 10, it'll just bring up the last thing you sliced, which in this case is what we want. So make sure your build plate is clean. It looks pretty clean. If it's not clean, there's some alcohol, right? You get your alcohol and a little round, and you just wipe it down. Ugh. Don't drink the alcohol. I know you want to. Don't drink the alcohol. Alright, make sure that's lined up. And it's pretty much as simple as hitting print, and then he'll do his thing, and he's just gonna move around. He'll do like a little demo here, and it should be hunky-dory. Now the biggest thing with the Prusa is watch out on the first layer, because sometimes if you don't slice it properly in the first layer, it'll mess up and you're not gonna have a good time on your hands. So starting prints on the Bamboo machines are a little different. The reason we use these types of USB drives is because these run off of micro SD cards. So for the X1, the SD port is right here, but we're not demoing because it's running the print right now. So we're going to run the P1S. So the SD port on the P1S is right up here. You just whack that guy in there. Whack that guy in there. The build plates are a little different on the Bamboos because we have the textured PEI plate. Always make sure that this is the plate that you're slicing on in Orca. Unless you want to use like a smooth plate or something, talk to Cornelius about that. But so these plates, just make sure they're clean. When starting a print, just after plates are clean, throw on just a little bit of glue. These glue sticks are usually hanging out by the printers. Then slide it in. There's 2 little notches, so it should line up easy. It's a magnetic bed, so it won't slide. Close the door. Find the files, which arrow down, and then you want the file name. That's where file names come in handy. Make sure you organize your files. So we hit demo and it'll bring up, hey, it's gonna do this. All right, so hit print, and then there's a little countdown, and then it'll start running. Alright, that should be everything. So good luck, happy printing, and don't blow anything up.